Qed isiru ħafna avvanzi fejn jidħol footage bid-drone. Illum ħanlaqakom ma' Richard Geres u ħanitkellmu fuq dan is-suġġett verament interessanti. Richard, how did your passion for drone filming start?
Well, it started some years ago when I was practicing my skiing, and the best feedback you can get for skiing is to see yourself on video. So initially I started using GoPros to get feedback from those, but then I decided to go to the air and get a drone that can follow me so I could analyze my technique afterwards.
So literally there is a drone that can follow you while skiing on the slopes?
Yes, it follows you everywhere you go.
How does it work?
It works with a transceiver that you stick in your pocket, and the drone locks onto this signal, and it follows you and it goes around any obstacle that comes in the way.
Okay, so the technology is actually quite advanced.
It uses AI technology to follow you.
All right. How did that progress then?
Well, my wife and I like to travel a lot, so I started taking a drone with me to document our holidays, and I started filming my friends during skiing. I have some professional ski instructors that I ski with regularly, and we did some shots there. Then we progressed to motocross, and eventually we ended up with power boats and speedboats and sailing boats and all the kinds of action sports that are available and exciting to film.
How is the technology progressing? You have a very wide range of drones here. Each one has a particular purpose, I imagine.
Yes, basically you can categorize the drones between what range they have, how long they can stay in the air, and how maneuverable they are.
Okay. So can we look at some specific ones and understand exactly their features?
We have two types of drones here. We have what we call FPV drones. These are basically acrobatic drones that originate from racing, from drone racing. And that would be these kinds of drones over here.
Let me get...
So the drone has a camera, a built-in camera that transmits a signal to the FPV goggles that you wear on your head, and you create a first-person view or FPV view as if you were sitting on the drone and riding the drone.
So you're seeing exactly what the lens is seeing?
You're seeing exactly what the lens is seeing.
What type of speed does this reach?
This drone can reach up to 160 kilometers per hour.
Which is fast,
Very fast.
And is it difficult to control at that speed?
It's difficult to control at any speed actually, because there's no stabilizing mechanism in it. So the drone only responds to what the pilot puts in on the sticks.
So it isn't one of those drones that stands there next to you and you can just go and pick it out of the air?
No, this drone you have to control at all times. If you do not, it will crash within a few seconds.
Okay. Hence your helicopter pad there where you can land the drones on?
Yes, we try to get the drone home on the landing pad to avoid dust collecting on the lens and on the electronics. And
I'm seeing that this is fitted with a camera apart from its own.
So they allow you to film up to 5.3K in resolution and also slow motion footage. So they're a very versatile piece of equipment to film stuff with.
Okay. Can we look at one of the bigger machines you have?
Sure. So here I have a stabilized drone. That means once it takes off, if you take the hands off the controls on the controller, it will just hover in the air.
Okay.
So you can leave it there. It's got a flight time of over 35 minutes.
Which is impressive.
Yes.
What about the others?
These fast drones, they have a very short flight time, ranging between 5 and 10 minutes.
Okay, so you need to bring them in, change the battery.
Because since they're so powerful, they pour so much current from the batteries that it discharges in a matter of minutes.
What about weather conditions?
Yeah, well, normally we try to avoid wind. So wind can be challenging, even though the more powerful the drone is, the more wind resistant it is, and we cannot fly in rain. So
no.
The drones are not waterproof.
Okay. What is your recommendation to somebody considering using a drone for the first time?
Well, I would recommend getting a commercial stabilized drone. They're easy to learn how to fly it, how to get a feel of how the drone responds. And then you can get a crossover drone, which would be this one over here. And that is a crossover between an FPV drone and the Mavic, it can fly in both modes. So you can start it off in a stabilized mode. It can hover in the air, and then you can switch over to acrobatic mode, like the FPV drones, and you can fly it like a racing drone. And then to land it, again, you can switch back to stabilized mode and land it easily.
Okay. Are there any licensing requirements to fly a drone?
Yes, there is a European drone law available, which is applicable to all European countries. To fly a drone, you need to get a license, which you can obtain from Transport Malta. There are different categories of licenses depending on the weight of the drone and how close you want to fly to people.
Okay. We mentioned VR goggles before. Can you give me a bit more detail on how these are used?
You would put them on. You've got a screen inside. Again, you get the signal from the camera of the drone, and you're able to see exactly what the drone is seeing.
Okay.
So if you're flying closer to objects, if you're following certain objects, you've got the first-person view, and you know exactly the drone's position in relation to the subject you're trying to film.
Richard, I noticed this particular drone is a bit different from the rest. What's particular about it?
Well, this drone has a propeller guard, and the idea is you can use it to fly around people. So just in case it hits you, the propellers do not touch the person.
Okay.
It's also great for flying indoors. So if you're flying around furniture, if you're doing real estate filming, if you're filming warehouses or hangars, this is a great drone to use.
To what are you seeing drone videography being applied in?
Well, drone videography is being used more and more now in Hollywood movies. So some movies which have come out lately used a lot of drone footage. It's a different perspective. It's a new way of showing the environment and adding excitement to the scene.
But there you'd need professional cameras, so how does that work with drones?
Yeah, the principle is the same. The drone will just be bigger. It's got bigger propellers, more batteries, and it sits a cinema camera on a gimbal, which is operated by a second operator. So the gimbal will move around by the operator to keep the subject in focus, and the drone pilot will steer the drone.
Richard, thank you very much for that. I'm sure our viewers found it very interesting, and it's interesting also to point out that all the footage that they're seeing during this interview is stuff shot by yourself, both locally and abroad. There's just one thing left that I'd like to ask you. Can I have a crash course in filming with a drone?
Of course, I would love to show you.
Thank you.
Put you in the driver's seat.